Hi, I'm Adrian with Physical Therapy Connections, and today I'm going to be taking you guys through the workout of the week. This is for PSAS Spirals, Pueblo School for the Arts and Sciences, and I also want to share a short message. Our short message is here at Physical Therapy Connections, we try to keep the exercises to include your whole body. So that's everything from your feet all the way up to your head or to your fingers, from your head all the way back down to your toes. And we do like to also work with multiple directions. So just a quick little thing here. If you think about the body moving side to side, or if you think about the body moving forward and backwards, and lastly, if you think about the body moving in rotational movements, that is what we're really talking about when we say multi-directions. So we're going to use our whole body from head to toe in all of those different directions, but we're going to keep it safe and pain-free. So if anything to you doesn't feel like you're in a safe spot or doesn't feel comfortable, or even if you just have a little bit of a pain with it, you might have to modify that. So sometimes a modification means going a little bit slower. Sometimes a modification means not going quite as far. So if you are doing an exercise that is causing a little bit of pain, you can modify it by going slower or shorten the distance. The other thing is with pain is if it hurts and you modify it and it still hurts, just don't do it. There are other exercises that you could do that will help you just as much. So without saying too much more, I'm going to show you some dynamic stretches and then follow that up with a couple other exercises just to get you guys going. So the first one you can do standing in place, but you're going to drive your knee up towards your chest and give it a little extra stretch with your arms. So it'll look like this. Drive it up, pull it up. Drive it up, pull it up. That's 3. We're going to go one more time after that for a total of 5. Then you're going to switch. For everything today, I'm going to try to show you about 5 repetitions of each one. Sometimes a little bit more, sometimes a little bit less, but we're going to shoot for 5. Okay? After you bring the leg up in the front, we're going to bring the leg up in the back. Okay, now we did front and back. We're going to do a little bit of rotation also while bringing the leg up front. So we're rotating the leg so that the foot comes in and the knee goes a little bit to the outside. And as you start to get through some of this, you might get a little bit hot, you might get a little bit warmed up. That's the whole idea. You might even lose your breath a little bit. So bear with me as I go through these if I start to huff and puff. And that should be close to 5. Good. So we're already starting to get the big part of the muscles in the hips, in the front part of the legs, and in the back part of the legs starting to stretch out with some of those different areas. Okay, we're going to keep going down that route, but we're going to add the arms into this next movement. So the next movement is going to be a big step, and I'm going to scoop my arms through. Big step, scoop the arms. Okay, you can return to start. Big step, scoop the arms. Make sure to switch sides and get the other leg. All right, we're starting to get warmed up. So that is a short series of dynamic stretches that you could do that stretches mostly the big muscle groups in your legs, but it also gets your arms involved with a little bit of pulling and a little bit of reaching. The next thing we're going to work on is some hand flexibility. So with hand flexibility and dexterity, what I want you to start off with is looking at your fingernails, right? Show them to yourselves. You might even check them out. This might be a good time to look at your nails and see if you need to wash your hands, right? The other thing is, I want you to turn your hands out and stretch them big, okay? Hands come in, looking at the nails, hands go out. Hands go in, hands go out. A couple more times, okay? This next one, you're gonna try to see if you can get your thumb and your pointer finger to touch each other. If you can do that easily, then switch to the next finger, and to the next, and to the next. So you go through just a couple of times, checking the dexterity in your fingers, making sure each one touches easily and sometimes quickly. You can go through quickly, then you can go through reverse. So start with your pinky finger and go the other way. And then again, slowly, and try to work more towards quick. Those are a couple things you can do for hand dexterity, just a couple of finger stretches. Also a good time to remind you to wash your hands, okay? The next thing I have on the list is balancing. And when I teach balancing here at PT Connections, a lot of the times I like to use a wall. So if I'm standing on one leg, and if I am not sure if I'm gonna be a little bit off balance, I like to have something next to me. If it's not a wall that's pretty stable, maybe a chair that I know isn't gonna move, just so I don't fall over, okay? What I want you to do is see if you can stand on one leg and reach up overhead 20 times, okay? So we're gonna start off maybe slow and controlled. You could work to a little bit of a quicker reach, that's okay, but you wanna shoot for about 20 times. Okay, we're getting pretty close. So I'm gonna switch legs. If I need to, just to stabilize and shoot for 20. Fantastic. So that's just a quick start. If you've noticed anything so far with the leg stretches, the arm stretches, or with the balancing that you're not able to do, those would be good things to practice every day up until the point where you can do them without any problem. And even if you can do them without any problem, it's a good time to try those exercises just to warm the body, right? Get a couple of the muscles moving in your hips really well, your arms really well. And again, like I said, it causes a little bit of heavy breathing, which is good for your cardiovascular system and for your respiratory system. So strengthening the lungs and the heart and the blood flow inside of your own body, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is a little bit of jogging, right? And remember, we said we were gonna do jogging and these exercises with our whole body in all different directions. So the first one I might start off with is gonna be a forward jog, right? My forward jog is just gonna be a light trot coming forward, maybe about 5 to 20 feet going forward direction. Then, because of the amount of space that you might have, you might use the same direction or the same space to go the opposite direction. It's a little bit of a backwards jog. So again, we're gonna do this 5 times. It's a little bit of a forward jog and a little bit of a backwards jog. Now, if you don't have the amount of space that I have today, you could also just do kind of like a 5 count in your head, right? So I'm gonna go 5 count, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then give myself a little bit of a rest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then give myself a little bit of a rest. Of course, you'll do that about 5 times. Now, if you have the space, going forward and then going backwards is a great idea. If you don't have a whole lot of space, you might be in place, but leaning forward as you go through, and then in place as you lean backwards to try to get both directions, okay? The next direction is gonna be side to side. So I might do a little bit of a sideways jog or a shuffle, followed by the other direction, right? So I'm going to try 5 times side to side. And again, if you don't have as much space as I'm using here, even if you're standing in place with a little bit of a sideways lean, right? And then a little bit of a sideways lean. So you could do it in a relatively small area, and this one definitely will get the heart racing a little bit. It should raise your body temperature a little bit as well. So you'll want to make sure you have a water bottle. Like I said, if you're outside with the sunshine, you know, be outside as much as you can, especially when you're doing these exercises, to even just get a gentle breeze or a little bit of air circulation. The next thing after that is a little bit of crawling. Okay, so we're going to use the same concept of going forward and backwards and side to side, and maybe even rotational when we start to use our crawling. So the first crawling method is just going to be hands and knees and feet. So we call it a 6-point crawl, kind of like a baby crawl. So if I start off just doing about 5 steps, coming forward with the baby crawl, then I'm going to come back with the baby crawl. Just about 4 or 5 steps. Okay, that's your crawling. I could also do crawling going sideways. About 4 or 5 steps coming sideways, and then go back the other way. Okay, next I could do rotational crawling, and for this I'm going to turn my back to you for just a second. So when I go rotational, I might turn in a little bit of a circle going one direction until I go all the way around, and then I can go rotational in a circle going the other direction. So that completes the 6-point crawling, which is feet, knees, and hands for 6 points. I'm going to show you a little bit of a tougher level just for those of you that might want a little bit more of a challenge. And this one definitely is going to target more of your trunk muscles, more of your shoulder muscles as you go through these stretches and these exercises. This next one is called a 4-point crawl or a hand-foot crawl. So I'm elevating my knees off of the ground, not so high that I'm in a bear crawl. This one looks more like I'm maybe low to the ground like a spider. So it's going to be forward crawl, about 5 steps, backwards crawl, about 5 steps. Okay, we're going to go to the side angle because we're going to also do a little bit of side crawling, about 4 or 5 steps. And then, of course, the other side. You might even call this an ant crawl. The third one is, of course, my rotational crawl. Now, I have a couple of different rotational crawls. This one is kind of like the one we just did before, where we're spinning in a circle. I turn my back to you, and I end up going all the way around. But I also have a rotational crawl where I can turn over from a downwards facing table to an upwards facing table. And it looks kind of like this. Push one leg through, reach back. I'm in an upwards facing table. Step through, reach over. I'm in a downwards facing table. And I can go the other way too. Here, reach back, upwards facing table, step through, reach down, downwards facing table. So those are a couple of the different things you could do for crawling. Now by this time, I've got a good sweat going, my body temperature's elevated, and it's a little tough for me to complete sentences while I'm talking because I'm breathing a little bit harder. So you should be too. The next part is going to be squatting. And for the squatting, I actually have a staircase right over here that I might show you how to use. So we're gonna walk this way. Good time for me to catch my breath. And we're gonna use the edge of the seat here, or the staircase. So for my squatting, I could do, and you could use a chair, or if you're outside, if there's a big enough rock or a log, you could use the same thing. So we're gonna go squat down, come back up. squat down, come back up. 3, 4, and 5. Now, for those of you who are so far going through this with me and you think this is really, really easy, you could do that 5 sets of 5, right? So if you do 5 times, you get about 25 body weight squats. It's a very good way to get the blood flow going, to get the muscles in your legs contracting and relaxing as you go through that workout. It's a very good exercise. So if this has been too easy for you so far, try that 4 more sets, each set getting 5 repetitions, right? If you're like me, you might be a little winded already, so you might have to push pause, take a break, maybe even rewind into this video a little bit to stay caught up. But for now, I'm gonna move on to the next section. So you could repeat the sit to stand or the squatting exercise 4 more times, 5 repetitions each time. But I'm gonna move on to the push-ups, okay? And we're gonna use the same kind of step to help us with that. So if I do my push-ups from the side of the step here, it gives me a little bit of an advantage. If I'm all the way down on the floor, those are of course probably the most traditional push-ups that you could do. But anytime you get elevated onto a chair or a bench or a step, it makes it a little bit easier because now some of my body weight is towards my feet, making it a little bit easier on my arms. Another way to modify this push-up would be to use a wall. So if you used your wall as a wall push-up, that would be another great way to modify this. But today we're going to use a step. So if I'm using the step, keeping my body in a straight line, I'm going to bend my elbows so my chest goes towards the step. So I'm going to try to get 5 here. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And again, if you're like me, you might be breathing a little bit hard, sweating a little bit, my body temperature is elevated a little bit, so I'm definitely getting a good workout. If you're really, really wanting to challenge yourself, that same exercise you could do 4 more sets of, and in each set getting 5 repetitions. So a quick summary here today. We went through some dynamic stretches, followed by hand flexibility, a little bit of balance at the wall, some jogging, crawling, squats, and push-ups. If this program gets you going and keeps you moving for about 30 minutes, then that's a great goal. If we're not quite meeting the 30 minutes after you do your 5 sets of 5 push-ups and 5 sets of 5 squats, and you want to challenge yourself again, you could go through the video 1 more time, and we call that a circuit, right? So every time you complete a list of exercises, that could be a circuit. And if you're really, really fast, if you're really, really moving good, you can complete several circuits in a row. 1 circuit, 2 circuit, 3 circuit, that sort of thing. I don't encourage everybody to do that on their very first try. You might try to get through this video 1 time and then kind of see how you feel. If you really feel like that was way too easy, then try to do a couple of circuits. If you feel like it was a little challenging, you might just do 1 circuit and try that a couple of times before you build up some stamina, some endurance that will help you complete a full circuit and maybe even help you get towards doing 2 or 3 circuits. So once again, I'm Adrian Gomez here at Physical Therapy Connections, doing a workout of the week for you, spirals at PSAS. Thank you and good luck.